Brothers and sisters, it gets like that sometimes. The world will reject you, exclude you, deny you, and ignore you. People will on occasion relegate you to the bottom of the pile or the last position in line. But take a cue from these lepers and find others who have gone through similar experiences to yours, and you can encourage one another, you can back one another, you can undergird one another, and even inspire one another. This must have been how these lepers made it. They were there for one another. Well, we see further evidence of their unity of spirit when they encountered Jesus. First, my brothers and sisters, note that they all approached Jesus. There were no dissenters. There were no objectors. There were no abstainers. There were no dividers. Not one stood out and said, well, I think we need to reconsider this move toward Jesus because we don't know exactly how he's going to react. We need to study him a little further. We need to examine his work a little more carefully. No, instead, they all approached Jesus together in unison with one mind, with one objective, and that objective was to be healed. Brothers and sisters, you don't know how powerful a group can be. If a group can ever get on one accord, it's always because you have to stop and deal with the stragglers, stop and deal with the complainers, that slows the movement of God's kingdom down. Brothers and sisters, this is why they all cried out, the whole lot of them, all of them said, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. Lord, don't just heal me, but heal all of us. Don't just relieve me, but relieve all of us. Don't just deliver me, deliver all of us. Jesus, when he taught his disciples how to pray, he said, say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trust. When he taught them how to pray, he said, pray together, because where two or three are gathered together in his name, there he said, and if he's in the midst, there's power in the midst. If he's in the midst, there's joy. If he's in the midst, there's movement in the midst. Brothers and sisters, as I read this story over again, I was intensely impressed by these lepers' unity. Often when groups experience hardship or suffering or otherwise difficult situations, individual members of the group will become irritable, overly stressed, or even combative. This leads to disunity and then an inability to get anything worthwhile done. If left unchecked, these disturbing and disruptive conditions can result in the total disintegration of the group. We have seen some churches that operate in the same way. Let a few hard times hit. Let one thing go wrong. Then people start talking over here. Group will meet over there. One meets outside. People are meeting on 3 different decks of the parking deck. That is when things start to disintegrate. But this was not the case with these 10 lepers. They hung in there together. Their actions said, we may have a physical and a social disability, but we're going to stick together. Other people may view us as the scum of society, the wretched of the earth, but we are going to stick together. We may be living in poverty on the edge of complete economic ruin, but we will stick together. Our appearance may be pitiful and repulsive to other people, but let me tell you something, Jesus, we decided to stick together. Stick together, and we're going to move toward Jesus. What a lesson, brothers and sisters, sticking together and then moving toward Jesus. You're were about to lose your house. They've already come to get your car. Just stick together, I tell you, and move toward Jesus. They laid you off. The whole family has had to cut back. Even some needs are not being met. I say stick together and move toward Jesus. One in the household has become desperately ill. The situation requires that everybody pitch in and help. It will mean some major adjustments. Stick together and move toward Jesus. The relationship has suffered serious blows. Trust has been sorely damaged. Communication is strained at best. Just stick together and move toward Jesus. Here lies a simple formula for handling the hard times in any group situation. You stick together and move toward Jesus. Move in his direction and say like these lepers, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. According to the law of Leviticus 13, this is not what those suffering lepers were supposed to say when they encountered someone. In that passage in Leviticus, they were required to wear torn clothes, let their hair go unkept, and then cover their upper lip and cry, unclean, unclean. This was to warn others not to come near, lest they be designated as ritually unclean themselves. But instead of crying, unclean, unclean, these 10 lepers, these 10 outcasts of society cried, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. This plea clearly violated the law of Leviticus, but it coincided with the law of love. It was a love that Jesus put forth as the supreme law. This is why he identified the greatest commandment as this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. He insisted that these two sum up all the precepts of the Mosaic law and all the pronouncements of the Hebrew prophets. The 10 lepers cried out, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. Brothers and sisters, to have mercy is to have pity. It is to show sympathy with the misery of another. These lepers were asking Jesus to sympathize with their suffering, or more precisely, to suffer with them, for they believed that if he suffered with them, if he entered their suffering situation by word, by deed, or by spirit, he would thereby relieve their suffering. This is because every situation that Jesus is allowed to enter, he saves. Let me see if I can make it plain. He entered Simon Peter's house and saved his mother-in-law from a fever. He entered Nicodemus's mind and saved him from a misunderstanding of the gospel. He entered the disciples' boat on a raging sea and saved them from a storm. He entered Bartimaeus' presence on the Jericho road and saved him from blindness. The ruler Jairus invited him into his home and he saved his daughter. A worried father invited him to take a look at his disturbed son and he saved him from demon possession. A centurion invited him to come to his house and save her, and he saved that centurion's servant. A weeping woman invited him to receive her attention and he saved her from her sins. Every situation into which Jesus is allowed to enter, he saves. Every time someone invites him into their issue, he delivers. Some of us, brothers and sisters, need to start inviting. We need to send a special message to the Lord today, requesting that the Lord come into our presence. We need to invite him into our relationships, for they are troubled. We need to invite him into our homes, for they are chaotic. We need to invite him into our schools, for they are undisciplined. We need to invite him into our communities, for they are violent. We need to ask the Lord into our finances, for they are scarce. We need to ask the Lord into our workplaces, for they are corrupt. We need to ask him into our minds, for they are disturbed, and into our hearts, for they are broken. Brothers and sisters, we need to break out the stationery, the fax machines, the desktops, the laptops, the smartphones, the iPads, the Android, the carrier pigeons, and the smoke signals. And brothers and sisters, we need to say, in the words of Brother Smokey Northwell, not another second or a minute, not an hour or another day, but at this moment, with my arms outstretched, I need you to make a way, as you've done so many times before. through a window or an open door, I stretch my hands to you. Come rescue me. I need you right away. I need you now. I need you now. I need you now. I need you now. Not another second or another minute. Not another hour of another day. Lord, I need you, and I need you right away.